That's right, Smithers. You have to wait 30 seconds to see my face. Plus, however long that video is, I don't exactly know because I just made it and put it on there, and I was like, this is good for now. We're working on some cool stuff. We're working on I made up a nice, fun jingle for Blue Balls Reviews. You know, the show that went for 3 hours and 40-something minutes last night. For Pete's sake, I was like, wow, that it happens. We were having fun. That's all that matters. So definitely excited to have a show tonight with this guy. We did a show together on Chat and Draw with the Dastardly Dingoes. So I'm excited to present Brian Rodman.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
You know, it's Sunday. Hey, what's going on, Rich? We got a whole bunch of people in here. We got Rich in here.
Hey.
We got Smithers. We got Jack. What's going on, Jack? And then we got Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, guys.
It felt like forever. That's all right. Well, I mean, you see my face last night for like 4 hours, so I figured I'd give you a little bit of a break from it for a little while.
It's just not enough.
It's just not enough. It's not enough,
They need
man.
more of your face.
Yeah. I can't wait to get some kind of cosplay going for this dude. One day I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna be like all like in character and stuff.
Yeah,
it'll be awesome. 40 minutes. It took 2 hours to read a comic that didn't have tons of words because we kept going off on tangents. These guys. So I bring them on last night. We read the first book and everything went smoothly. And I was like, hey, you guys go ahead and jump on and we'll go through this book together and we'll do thoughts on it. And so like they kept getting hung up on stuff. Like, but he woke up and he was sweaty because he had a dream about her being on top of him. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God, guys, I'm reading somebody else's book here. And so thank God.
Just turning somebody else's work into like just 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. So I was like,
hashtag dino porn, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag dino porn. Brian K. Morris knows all about that. So I'm like, I really hope this guy like watches the first hour and sees me reading the first book doing voices, and he's like, oh, this is awesome. And then he's like, oh, I got to go do something else, and he clicks out of it. I'm like, just after an hour and 15 minutes, don't watch past that.
The rest of it, I'm ashamed.
Shame. Box of shame with you.
Oh man.
So how you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I was actually just I was on JD's show just a little bit ago, talking about Kickstarter stuff, and it was a lot of fun. We were laughing pretty hard over there. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready to have some fun with you tonight and get into some shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Indeed.
Did he say shenanigans?
Shenaniganery.
Oh. What's good, gentlemen? So we're here. You got a Kickstarter that's live right now, Memoirs of an Angel. We got a link in the description, but we'll get to that later on in the show. Yeah. We'll talk about that for a bit. Let's talk about you. So how long have you been into comic books? I mean, I know we had the show before, and we had kind of chatted about it, but let's start from scratch. So when did you first get into like comic books and drawing?
When I was a wee child, before I was bearded. But right. I love it, man. Just own it, right?
Like, that's right, own it.
Yeah. No, I had when I was like 2 years old, I was diagnosed with chronic asthma, and it was really, really bad. I was actually in the top 5% of worst cases of childhood asthma in my city, and it never really got better. And so I couldn't go outside and do a bunch of stuff, right? So to still give me a childhood and have fun, which childhood was great. Mom and Dad did an amazing job. While I'm sitting there hooked up to my breathing machine, they would put in front of me drawing pad, pencil, and comics. And so watching cartoons, watching Batman 89, Michael Keaton is the first movie I remember watching. My parents did not care about the PG-13 rating, and I believe I was like 4 years old when I watched it on my couch. I remember it's legit one of my earliest memories. Sitting on the couch, my sister and my mom and my dad is in the recliner. We have a specific quilt that I remember. And I'm looking at the screen, and the Joker's hand comes out. Jack Napier will appreciate that. And and like that is legit one of my earliest memories. And so from the get-go, I was indoctrinated in comic books and nerddom. And from that point, I mean, really, it's synonymous. Like just watching movies, watching cartoons, reading comics. Um, you know that, um, you know that all kind of came together, really. Batman killed everybody. Yeah, so that's why. Yeah, that right there. Quick tangent. When everybody was hating on Ben Affleck's Batman for killing people, I was like, what are you talking about? Batman's always killed people. Watch Batman and Batman Returns. Literally, in Batman Returns, Batman straps a bomb to a clown and throws him down a shaft. Like, and the dude just explodes. And I'm like, no, Batman kills people. Come on. It wasn't until the Nolan films that really, like, my one rule was the biggest focus. But I mean, you watch Batman the animated series, people die. You know, it is what it is. But anyway, all of that stuff kind of just sparked within me the desire to create. And I mean, honestly, when you're stuck inside your house and you're not able to go do stuff, you just kind of live in your imagination. Right. And all these things just piled on top of it and really fed into, me learning at a very young age, world building and creating entire, universes in your head, just because there's nothing else to do. I mean, there was no internet, no social media when I was a kid, so it was literally just like cartoons, movies, comics. That was in video games. That's
video games.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've got my handy dandy Super Nintendo right here next to me. I mean, I still play that. I don't play the new stuff anymore because I don't have time. But like that was my world, and so so I don't know, like it was pretty much that way all throughout, my childhood, teenage years, college years. And then when I was in high school, I walked out of seeing Blade 2 in theaters. And that was when the roots of Memoirs of an Angel started. I walked out and I was like, what if instead of a guy who kills vampires, he's a guy who's like half angel and he kills demons? And that's not at all what Memoirs is. But at the time, it was essentially, I just made my own version of Blade, was all it was. And yeah, I mean, that's not at all what this is. But that was the spark. And I just kind of just added to that and yeah, and then eventually ended up creating comics full time, and love it. So yeah, at a very young age, did the young pre-bearded Brian enjoy the comics and was indoctrinated in the nerd kingdom.
Yeah, Danny, that was a pretty good joke. I hope that came true. So we had this running joke last night. We had two people all the way up until like it was like 11:55, and I'm like, I wonder if one of those people is Trish, because she said she was laying down to go to sleep. I'm like, I wonder if she fell asleep with her phone on. She's gonna dream about the crazy conversations that we had, and she's gonna wake up and be like, did that really happen? So we were having a good joke about that, and Jack said, Brian, you were mixing Blade and Spawn.
Yeah. Spawn. Ooh, I have a little treat for you. Speaking of which, Spawn is one of my favorite comics of all time. Got issue 1 signed by the good old Todd McFarlane there. So, yeah. But no, yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I think that Blade, Spawn, John Constantine, those three probably really had a lot to do, and the show Supernatural had a lot to do with just big influences in me, like really creating this story.
So when you were younger and you came out of Blade, you had this idea for the comic, and so you ended up going to school, not even thinking about getting into the comic book world. You want to tell that story?
Yeah. So, I'm a Christian, and I decided that I really felt like I was being called to vocational ministry, go to be a youth pastor or a biblical counselor, things like that. And so, and I was very much on that track for years. And but always in all of my classes, whenever I would study theology, whenever I would really, just be in depth studying the Bible in my private, you know, time with God, or just at school, these things would always, it would always come back to memoirs. It was always like, oh, I think I need to jot this down. Like I'd hear something really cool in a theology class, or in any kind of class, and I would just jot that down. And so eventually, when the vocational ministry track just didn't really pan out, realized that I was really grateful for everything that I learned, because it helped me believe why I believe what I believe about a lot of stuff, and I loved my time there. But it was just professional ministry just wasn't my deal. And so I went into the medical field instead. And a lot of that was just trying to find a career, getting married at the time, so trying to find some money. And really, it was during that time where I was just writing an extensive outline for Memoirs of an Angel, because I didn't know how yet, but I knew I was going to do this one day. And so it was essentially, I would work during the day. I'd come home. My wife would go to bed. I'd sit at the laptop and just write out whatever came into my head, and eventually you know, got the story for what Memoirs is today.
Yeah, and so when you first started out, you had somebody else kind of helping you with the art,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, yes. So that, at first I was just gonna write the series. I wasn't gonna draw it. And that was, I was working on a short story for Memoirs, for an anthology project. And the artist that I was working with, I mean, I wasn't able to pay him anything, so just kind of out of the goodness of his heart, he was drawing these pages, so that they weren't, and because I wasn't paying him, he wasn't, really putting it at priority, which is understandable. And I'd see a page, or a panel, every 6 months or so. And um and and so we worked like that for about a year, or a year and a half, and then we had a bit of a falling out. And I was still attached to the project, and I just told the guy, I was like, you know what, I mean, I've always drawn. I've never drawn professionally, but I'm going to do it. And I drew up a couple pages and showed him one day. We met we met at a local mall in the food court. And yeah, and he was just like, all right, let me see what you got. I showed him. He's like, well, it was really cool, because he was like, well, you can draw. And that was the first time that a professional comic book artist told me I could draw. And I mean, like, the rest of the day could have been absolute crap, but like that, I was on cloud nine already. I was like, I can draw. And because he told me I could draw. So so anyway, yeah, so I ended up drawing the short story, as the short comic, as well as writing it. And then from that point on, I just never really looked back. I just decided, okay, well, if I can do a short version of this, I can do a long version of this too.
Sorry, I'm trying to share out on here, and it's
Oh, you're good.
Facebook's being a butt. Um, but yeah, that was one of the things that we had a good joke about when we were on Crom, was how you. I just want to be there for one of the Zoom meetings whenever you as the writer, you as the as the
Yes.
artist, and you as
Yes.
the letterer. You all
Yeah.
get together in your head, and you're like, "This sucks. You need to fix this," and you're like, "No, I think it's pretty good." I mean, I just want to be there for one of those Zoom meetings
Yeah.
in your head.
It's like that meme from that reality show. Where they're like yelling at each other, and they're throwing chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Fro time. There it is. Beautiful. I love
there you
it.
go. There we go. We got the fro. There you go, Andre. Just for you, buddy. So yeah, I mean, I was having a good laugh about that. I was like, man, I can
Yeah.
just imagine, you're doing everything. I mean, which is awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, the book, you do all the art, all the lettering, all of the writing for it. So
Yeah.
it's being shown in every way the way you intended it to be. I mean, yeah, an artist can do what you want, and you'll
Mhm.
like what they have, but it's never going to be a truly your imagining of what these characters look like, even
Yeah.
if you give them references, because artists usually want to make that something that you tell them their own in a way,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
to
yeah. I
speak.
mean, I think if you work with an artist, you want to give them artistic freedom as well because, they are creating something.
No, it is
Um,
not. It is not over, Trish. Let
no, it's
me
not. Yeah,
let me get the link and I'll kick it in there for you.
we are not even halfway through. We're only a week
No,
in.
you guys launched the week after I launched.
Hmm.
We had a pretty good party. Funded immediately.
Yeah, man,
Oh
it was
yeah.
awesome. And thank you, by the way, so for backing that. It was great.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
that was the funny story. That was one of the funny stories from the whole thing. So this guy puts in this art tier where he's going to do art, and he forgets to put a limit on it. So he
oh
launches this
gosh.
project, and there's already like 3 or 4 people that have pledged
Oh
to this, and
man,
his wife is
yes.
like, didn't you want this to be limited? He's like, yeah, it's supposed to be limited to 5. Why? She's
He's
like,
like,
there's no
it's not.
limit on it. So she hurried up and was able to get it in there like before
Oh man.
I mean, it would have been funny if he had like 50 people that
I
got
would have done
that
it.
tier.
I would have had to. I mean, and I would have been grateful for everyone. I mean,
Oh yeah,
because
no,
good grief,
exactly.
that would have been great. But yeah, it would have been their the rewards would have been a little delayed because of poor planning on my part. But yeah, no, she saved my butt. Otherwise, I don't know how many custom sketches I would have drawn. I'm thinking next time I may bump it up to maybe 10 instead of just 5 next time.
Yeah,
Just
but it's
because that
cool though because everybody
yeah.
will get that that satisfaction on. uh Sorry, I'm trying to go back in the comments here. Everybody will get that satisfaction. Oh, I got something that's limited.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
let's see. He starts talking like Garth Brooks in third person. Garth said he doesn't like the deal. I don't know. Perfect. Perfect. I can't sleep well tonight. Hi, Andre. Both sex symbols for me. Both messed up in the head too. That's going back to her favorite characters.
Gotcha.
She said Harley and Doctor Strange, and then trying to get caught up
Ooh,
here. So
nice. Yeah.
Courtney's in the room. Hey, Courtney, how are you? Hey, Luis Torres, Codex Entertainment LLC is in the house.
All right.
And everybody, I popped that link in there for you. So there is the link to Memoirs of an Angel. It is on issue 7.
Yep.
And so there is a ketchup tier available on there. And it's actually called the ketchup, as in ketchup that you put on a hot dog, which is
Oh gosh,
hilarious.
my wife like just scoffed at me so hard when I put that in there. I was like, I just giggled the whole time, and she's like, "What?" I showed her, and she was just like, "All right, come on." I was like, "No, we're doing this."
Well, and it's like I said before, if your wife isn't going, what the heck, Brian, you're not doing it
Are
right.
you are you even married? If
Yeah.
that's not
Are you
happening,
even
right?
married? I mean, my wife tells me that on a constant basis. Like last night when I did the Blue Balls of Lorien and I had the Mando mask
Yeah,
over and I had the fro on for the picture, and she's like, "You're just not right in the head." She's like, "It's funny, but you're just not right." And I was like,
yeah,
"I don't care.
yeah.
We're here to have fun.
But see, the response to this, well, you married this,
That's
so
right."
what does
Like,
that say about you?
yeah, and I must be doing something right if I'm keeping her guessing. After all these years. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
man, keep those surprises coming.
going on 17 years now.
Oh,
So
congratulations, sir. That's pretty awesome.
thanks. But
My
yeah, I mean,
condolences to her.
yeah, no joke. That's like when I wear the fro on. She's just like, "Really, you wore that thing again tonight?" I was like, "Oh yeah, you want to touch it? You want to feel the long curly locks?
Just give it a sniff, right?
Just
Yeah.
give it a sniff, right, y'all." So now that we've kind of made our way up to the story about memoirs and how you ended up getting to there,
Mhm,
with going to school and you wanted to practice ministry, and then you got out of that and you went to the medical, and then
mhm.
you're like, I'm just going to write this thing, and then you ended up deciding that it wasn't going to work out with another artist. So now you're writing, you're drawing, you're coloring, you're lettering. Tell everybody what this awesome book is about.
Sure. So, I'll give you the handy dandy elevator pitch first. It's Memoirs of an Angel is a horror fantasy comic book series about a ragtag group of infinite and finite beings who race through time and space to rescue a broken and bitter witch hunter from the clutches of the Dark Kingdom. In every way, it's like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. It's got that high fantasy world building. And the demonic horror as well. So it's very much like I tell people at Comic Cons when they ask about, because you say Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist, and 9 times out of 10 that person looks at me and goes, "What? Like, what does that mean?" And so it's like, okay, if you go into the scene, like the intense crazy scene at the end of The Exorcist, both priests are in the room, she's floating on the bed, whatever, and you pull back to the spiritual realm, and you see like Helm's Deep in the sky, crazy high fantasy, terrifying Hellraiser looking demons versus monstrosity angels just fighting each other all around the room in a different realm. That's what Memoirs of an Angel is. And so this particular story follows um, two angels in book one, which is where we're at now. It's called the Gray Pilgrim. These two angels are essentially, they're addressing a demonic stronghold that's in this particular part of the world, and they're helping the angel Gabriel just try to infiltrate this stronghold and defeat it. But in the middle of it all, it's all centered around this demon possessed boy, and up to leading up to issue 7, they're trying to find out who he is, where exactly he is, what demon is possessing him. And when we get to this issue that's currently on Kickstarter, all of that information has been found out, and now they are going to essentially tear down the walls of the stronghold to get inside the mind of this boy to fight this demon.
Or either that or it's Gorilla Glue, Danny. I mean, And there it is right there, folks. $21 digital catch up.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, we really wanted, because that right there gives you issue 0 and then 1 through 7. So it's, we wanted to give people, if you want, to hold books like so many people do, or lick spines like Brian K. Morris, you have that option with the physical catch-up tier, and then you can also just get the digital catch-up tier. It's $21. You get everything that we put out.
And then here's our was supposed to be a limited, and it ended up not being a limited, and you're like,
yeah. Now, thankfully it was limited. But the next that is the crazy. You want all of the story, all the variants, all the bookmarks, all the swag, everything. That's where you can go. So if you just want to jump into the deep end right away, the Motherlode is what you want for sure.
And then in the add-on menu, you can add on a lock of Brian's beard.
Indeed. Just it goes from a single strand to a whole section.
Yeah, a whole section, or you can get it braided too. He's mastered the art of braiding it. So I do want to show off this super sweet video.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work for us. We had no issues last night, and so we'll see what happens. It's temperamental.
I do want to give a shout out. Jeremy Woodring at jeremywoodring.com made this video, and it is phenomenal. He's made all of my Kickstarter videos, and he's the main producer of Dastardly Dingoes. So check that out as well.
And Jack said, Russell and Brian, not to derail the show, but a friend of mine, when we go to cons, always says, I'm waiting for one of these people pitching their books to not say this is the best thing ever, to say it's all right or it's not that bad to get my attention.
Bro, actually, I am not kidding you. I say that to people because I'm just like, it's okay. And usually it gets people to laugh.
All right, so we're going to give this a full screen, take us out so we don't override the music. And I know we won't have problems with copyright because we played it last week or the week before last. So
and it's an original song.
It's original, folks.
Yeah, I've got. We can talk about that here in a minute.
All right, so let's give it a go. There I go again. I broke it. I didn't allow it to have sound. So hold on. I have to go back in and reshare it because you have to click that little box that says allow sound. Oh, that's it. I'm fired. All right. Pause video. Pause. I said pause now. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. All right. Let's try sharing this again. I'm so terrible at this.
Oh, dude. Yeah. No, Jeremy handles all of our stuff, and I couldn't do it.
Well, it would help if I had some new tech, but we make do with what we have. So
absolutely, man.
Let's see. Stop screen share. Come on. Thank you. Let's try again. Share screen. Yes. Share audio. Yes. Now we're getting there. Memoirs of an Angle. Oh my gosh. Whose ugly mug is that? No, I'm just kidding.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. What's going on? Good evening, Grant.
Hey, what's up, Grant?
Hail the chat. That's right. Russ's modem is crashing in. Nope. It's not the internet. It's the 11-year-old Chromebook. Gotta love it. So see, we've managed to buffer halfway through the video almost, and the whole time that took. So maybe we can watch like the first, minute of it without being interrupted. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So here we go, folks. We're gonna give it a go.
Hey everyone, I am Brian. Uh-oh. Rodman, the creator of the horror fantasy comic books.
Come on, baby, you can do it.
Look at that beautiful face. Series Memoirs of an Angel. Oh dear. This Kickstarter campaign is for issue 7 of the series. For those who don't know, Memoirs of an Angel is about a ragtag group of infinite and finite beings who race through time and space to rescue a broken witch hunter from the clutches of the Dark Kingdom. It's like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. And issue 7 picks up right where issue 6 left off. After learning of Gabe's to breach the Dark Kingdom stronghold around Hillcrest Sanitarium, where they are greeted with a wickedly insurmountable force. Meanwhile, Tia and Obadiah enter Hillcrest and attempt to save Jonathan from the seemingly sinister will of the High Council. No matter the cost. It's a battle across both realms. items in this issue. The rewards on this campaign are awesome. Once again, our variant cover is created by the amazingly talented
We're gonna kick that out. Sorry. Oh, you're still muted. Hold on. There you go. You there? Nope.
Yeah,
Hold
it
on.
was my headphones. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, you're good. Yeah, sorry about that, man. She
Oh,
gave
you're
it all
fine.
she's got. You know.
Just everybody go to the page and watch it.
And
So
you
there
go
you
to
go.
the page and watch.
Yeah.
You got a brief glimpse of what it was all about.
Got a little taste.
I apologize. You know, some nights it works and some nights it doesn't.
Dude, it's fine. Honestly, like I mean, it's one of those things. Like when I first, you when you're an indie creator and you create podcasts, you create comics, you create books, whatever, you got to work with what you have, and through time you're able to afford more things. Like right now, like I showed you earlier, my handy dandy, the thing that hangs over my desk to hold my phone so that people can see what I'm drawing on my tablet. I just got that. I wasn't able to have one before now. So, it was one of those things where, you just build it as you can. So,
and then I want to back up here a second. When we were playing the video, Jack had a question. He said, Brian, are the character bookmarks double-sided? By the way, you really want people to drink considering you got a beer koozie, a mug, and a coaster.
Cheers, sir. The bookmarks are, yes. So the bookmarks, on one side you have the character, and on the other side you've got like the logo and like all the information and things where you can go, like the website and all social media stuff. So it does have that. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now. I haven't had a chance to update anybody on the Kickstarter itself. Tonight while I was on JD's show, we actually we got past the stretch goal. So we hit $2,500, and the next stretch goal, I'll announce it here, is going to be more bookmarks that are all the swords that the angels and demons. It's a set of I think either 4 or 5. I have to look of sword bookmarks. That it'll have the sword on it, and then on the back it'll have the name of the sword as well. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's always fun when you get to those points where you got to be creative and come up with new stretch goals, because it's like,
yeah, man,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's Danny D. I thought Russ had to go find me for a new laptop. You set it up, Danny. You set it up, buddy. You got it. It's all you. So we talked about your book and your inspiration. So what is Batman? I take it your favorite character, or
Okay, so at this point in my life, it's a bit complicated. So Batman is my all-time favorite superhero. Love Batman. As I've already said, from a very young age, Batman's a part of, my childhood, and one of my first memories is watching the movie. Batman the Animated Series played a huge role in me getting into comics, and it also played a huge role in my art style. I think the two guys that really influenced my art style the most are Mike Mignola and Bruce Timm, who is the creator of Batman the Animated Series. So Batman is my favorite superhero. My favorite comic book, however, is tied between Hellboy and Sandman. Just, I mean, it's probably Hellboy. I got to give Hellboy the win with that one, just because from beginning to end, it, you know, and even all the spinoffs and everything, just it's it's a great story, beautiful story. Every little detail and all the side stories just point back to Hellboy's, overarching big picture story and his character arc, and I love that. But Sandman, I mean, geez, Neil Gaiman, I don't know that you get better than that as a writer, in my opinion. Just what he did with a with an old comic book character, and what he did with comics in the '80s. I mean, like now, if Sandman came out now, everybody'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, that's really good." But like other comics are like that. No other like rarely. You had Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, and Frank Miller that were really pushing the limits in the late '80s, and that was it. I mean, you had some others that had done it before, like Will Eisner, and I mean, Jack Kirby did it, but like all his stuff was mainstream, and it was really limited with the comic book code. These guys just said "f the code" and did what they wanted. And I think that so I think that's why Sandman holds such a special place in my heart as well. But man, I love Hellboy and Sandman a lot. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that was something we were touching on last night in our 3 hour and 45 minute broadcast. Is the quality of comics these days? It's like back in the '80s, the late '80s, there was so much story content packed onto each page of a comic book, and and then he Jake flipped open a modern book, and it's like there's like 5 words on one page, and there's 8 words on the next page. Add 10 words, 8 words, add 5 words, add. And I'm just like, I never really looked at it, and really thought about it a whole lot. I mean, it does get aggravating when you get a modern book and you're like wanting a good story and it's like 18 ads in a 24-page book, But
I know at one point I was reading, I can't remember what book it was. It was by Image, and I counted the actual pages of story in the book. I think it was like 12 or 13, and the rest was ads. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, what? Why? Like, what? Come on, man. Like, just, I don't know. That stuff drives me nuts. That's honestly why I gravitate more towards indie books off Kickstarter, is because you don't, like some people do have ads. Like we have, some ads in the very, very back, like maybe a page dedicated to them, but that's it. The rest of the story.
And I mean, it's necessary sometimes, to help fund the book. But
absolutely,
the problem is, and that's what we talked about last night, is the book, modern books are so recycled. It's like, let's do another storyline on this character. Oh, we're 10 books in. Let's do another storyline on this character. And, and then they're trying to bring in these new twists. They're changing the characters around. Well, now it's not male, it's female. And, and it's like, it's the same stuff. And that's why indie books are so awesome. And, like Memoirs of an Angel, it's something that you thought of and you're like, this would be an awesome concept because you were inspired by Blade and you were inspired by Supernatural and you were inspired to, kind of create this world, like with Spawn, like Jack had mentioned earlier. And it's like the modern books don't do that. They just like, hey, how can we make this interesting again?
Yeah. And I think especially with the big two, and I get it. Like, it's a business, right? Like, it's a money-making business. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But you can have that, and you can also have good storytelling at the same time.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times, like, I think especially nowadays in our culture, what we crave, maybe we don't know that we crave it because we just want more and more and more, but we crave good endings.
Yep.
I think Game of Thrones really showed us how much we crave good endings for good stories. I think with Game of Thrones, I mean, I don't know how many people were just anticipating that last season. And, some people liked it. Some people thought it was fine.
Well, it was the same thing with Supernatural, too.
Exactly. A lot of people hated it. They were like, what? And it's because the creation process is when you start you don't know what the ending's going to be.
Well, and Supernatural was worse because
Oh
the
gosh,
pandemic
yeah.
halted season 15. They
Mhm.
made it halfway through, and it's like, okay, we're gonna have to wait for the rest of it. It's like, what? We waited for the
Yeah,
final season for forever,
yeah,
and so since we watched half of the final season, like by the time the second half came out, I'm like, we might as well just start it all over. So we've started
yeah.
over with season one again, and we're watching through it again.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, see, honestly, like, and I not because I didn't like the show anymore. It just I kind of got out of it. I need to catch up on Supernatural. I know I've kept up with like what happens, but I've not watched it very much. And the first 5 seasons was what Kripke, that was his story, and then that's when he left after that. It was he had that story mapped out, and that to me should have been where Supernatural ended. We would now, granted, I'm not saying what's happened since season 5 is garbage. That's not true at all. They've actually kept this thing alive for longer than most shows ever
Minus
should go on.
Minus, like Steph and I say, minus the Leviathan season and minus the Ghost Facer episodes.
Right, yeah,
You had those episodes that aired when there were writer strikes,
yeah.
and so they just made these filler episodes, and you could really tell when they were filler episodes
Oh yes.
because you're like 10 minutes in, you're like, what in the
What is
world?
this? Yeah,
What is this garbage? Hey, I
yeah.
think we can skip this episode. And so now that we're watching back through, it's really funny because I'm like, oh no, this is Ghostfacer episode. And my wife's like, really? Skip?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I like that kind of but that kind of storytelling, I think after season 5 you could really see a difference in the storytelling in Supernatural. Was in Supernatural seasons 1 through 5, things that happened in the first episode of season 1 tied to the last episode of season 5 brilliantly. It was a brilliant overarching story because Kripke entered this with a plan. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew what story he wanted to tell. And it lasted 5 seasons, and then it was done. And I think that is really what we need. I think we need people that they don't just milk it for all it's worth and then throw an ending together because we don't know what else we're going to do with these characters. You know, we need to enter into a storytelling, you know, medium and say, okay, this is how this ends. And this is, throughout the story, we're pointing to these things. That's foreshadowing. There's all these things that are happening. And then that will give us a good ending to these characters that we love. And sure, we hate to see things end, right?
Yeah.
Like you binge a series, like just now, WandaVision, right? No spoilers, but like the end of WandaVision, I cried like a baby. I'm sad that it's over. I want more. Guess what? It's over. It's done. There's no more. But there's something else that's coming up. Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're gonna watch that and enjoy that now too. So it's just instead of just rehashing the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again and never ending anything, and then when you do end stuff, it sucks. Just tell
End
a
it.
story, end it, and then tell another one.
Yep. And see, that's kind of where I was going with this whole thing of going into, talking about that is you already have a plan for Memoirs of an Angel. 40 issues is what you said, right?
I mean, I'm not gonna be legalistic with that. I mean, if I
Yeah.
if I feel like the story needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, I
Yeah.
will
But
push
you
it
have your
out.
goal.
But
You have
I
your
know exactly.
goalposts.
Yeah, I know exactly how it ends.
Yeah, you have your
I have
goalposts
already
set up.
outlined the ending of the story. And I have how I've worked it out is I have pivotal plot points that are just like non-negotiables. This happens at this point, and then I've got notes that surround how you connect all those dots. And sometimes those notes change. I mean, but I've got the story mapped out completely. And I think as a storyteller, you want to be able to do that as much as you possibly can as you enter into a story.
Yeah, and your overall plan is to release 4 issues a year, so you're not gonna be 90 when the series ends.
Right, man. Because
But
oh gosh, because we up to this point we've only been releasing one issue a year.
yeah,
Yeah, that's and I tried to do like a trade. So the first trade I was our first Kickstarter. I released that trade. Um, excuse me. I released that trade with our first Kickstarter, and that about killed me because I had no idea how to schedule my time. at that. And that's crucial too as a creator. Learn pacing. You know, I mean, I've got it down to where I do 2 pages a week. And that puts me at about getting done around 2.5 months. I've got a book done. I've got an issue done. And so, you know, that doing that consistently has really, really helped. But, you know, and but if I didn't do that, if I was just like one a year or, you know, just throw it all in there, you know, I would either burn out or I would be 85. This thing still wouldn't be done.
Yeah, and that kind of segues into the next thing I wanted to talk about. So, you know, in doing those 4 books a year, one of those books is going to be the new series, the
Yes.
Nebulizer.
Yes, indeed. Hashtag asthma.
Yeah, so you know, this is something, you know, that you dreamed up because you had asthma as a kid,
Yeah.
and you were like, you know, you know, it's kind of like a Bubble Boy esque type story.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take it from here. What is the Nebulizer about?
Sure. So the nebulizer is really what it's about. It's about many things, but what it is mostly about is family. Is learning, um, learning how to have a family when everyone around you is gone. And a lot. The reason that I say that, and you would think, well, what does that have to do with asthma? Um, Being asthmatic, it can be very, very lonely. If you have it bad enough to where it, you know, keeps you inside, and you know, you see all your friends and everybody's able to go out and do things and you can't. And I really felt that during the pandemic. You know, because being a chronic asthmatic, I was high risk everything. You know, so like I couldn't even go to the grocery store without it being high risk. And it was just, you know, just being stuck at home all the time. I had dreamed up this character. I mean, it gets lonely, but this comic was my therapy during the pandemic, and that's when I wrote the first script and outlined the rest of the miniseries. And I mean, it's about a character named Connor who has the worst case of documented asthma in history. And as a kid, he was essentially put in a chamber that was just a large nebulizer. A nebulizer is just a breathing machine. For those who don't know, you squirt the medicine in it, and it changes it over to gas, and you breathe it in, and it opens your bronchial tubes because that's what asthma does. Your tubes that lead to your lungs do this, and so, you know, so there you go. Medical lesson for those who didn't know. Now you know.
The more you know.
Indeed. And so no, so he essentially lives in this chamber that only people can only go inside with like hazmat suits that have their own oxygen because there's just constant medication being pumped into the air in this chamber as a kid. And so he didn't really have natural interactions with his family, or you know, he didn't really have a whole lot of friends because he's just stuck in this thing all the time. And so the scientists that created this chamber for him gave him an AI to you know,
Interact with.
that interacts with him but also controls the chamber, and essentially is his nanny really, and is his you know, nurse, and it's also his friend. And his name, he's called Albuterol 1, and Connor names him Albie as a child because he sees the ALB 1, but it looks like an I, so he just thinks his name's Albie, and so Albie goes with that. So Connor and Albie, you know, get to know each other, and essentially they have a father son, you know, witty, bitter, back and forth relationship. Um, and eventually, this scientist who created this chamber also created a suit for Connor to wear so that he could go out. So essentially, everything that is in this chamber, how it keeps him alive, everything is now in this suit, and Albie travels with him inside the suit because he's the AI that controls everything. Well, one day, a nuclear blast happens for reasons that will be explained later in the series. And it is in that moment that Connor realizes. Spoiler alert, sir. Jeez. No.
Let's look behind me. See how they expose.
Right. And so it's during that time where Connor realizes that his suit is invulnerable, and for reasons that will be explained later in the series. And so not only has he been alone, but now he can finally be out, and this time he's an adult and he has his suit, and he's finally able to be out with his family, and he has been for years now, and now he watches them all die in a nuclear blast right in front of him, and he's unscathed. And so fast forward however many years, where we pick up with issue 1, Connor and Albie are trying to find little vials of medication that essentially keep him alive, and they keep his suit running. And he's trying to find the scientist's lab, because everything is completely changed because of
Yeah,
the
everything's
nuclear
been
blast.
eradicated and
Well, everything's
destroyed.
been eradicated, but it's also been mutated. So everything on this microscopic level merged with the macro level. And so you've got like dust mites that mutated with people and got huge. You've got little particles that you can't even see with the naked eye, have now blended with trees, and they're huge. So it's a completely different world. Maps have changed. Things just don't look like they did before. And so, he has to venture through this world. But now the fun part is all of the things that would have killed him before on the microscopic level, like dust mites, pollen, allergens of any sort, have now mutated and grown large into these crazy, gnarly monsters that he can kill. So now he's just going through the world trying to find this lab with these vials, just destroying these mutated mite heads, as he calls them. And that's the story that we enter into in issue 1, is he's running through a fiery lab, trying to find out if this was the lab that had all the vials that he needed, while it's burning down and he's destroying all these mite heads, with him and Albie just screaming at each other because they're bickering about something silly. And that's the tone of the series.
Sorry, I got one of those hairs hanging down and I can see it in my eye,
I
and I
hate
can't
those things, man. They
I
drive me
can't get
nuts.
it. It's
Yeah.
driving me nuts. I'm like, no way. It's probably one of the hairs from the fro, so I don't
There you
know.
go, yeah.
I think I got it finally. I think we're good. So yeah, I like when we talked about that, I was like, man, that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of Inhumanoids
Yeah.
a little bit. That was the show I was trying to think of back when we talked about it before. I loved Inhumanoids. You had Decompose and all the other ones, and I remember it because I didn't get to see it live on TV, but that was one of my great memories of going to my grandparents' house, because she had the Inhumanoids VHS tape that had like the first 4 uh, shows on it. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, I love it. So every time I went there, it's one thing I want to do is like, I want to watch Inhumanoids. Like, when can I watch it? When can I watch it?
Yeah.
And then I had the other grandparent that I went to, that my grandpa that passed away a year and a half ago. Well, our big thing was Star Trek, and
Yeah.
Lou Ferrigno, Incredible Hulk,
Mhm.
and Knight Rider, and Batman. The old Batman.
Yeah.
And so that was great. And when you were talking about doing something new, doing something fresh, doing something that is really good, that's one of the things that I was super excited about that came out several years ago, was when they rebooted the Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is awesome, but what are they going to do with it? And all you ever got was, anytime you seen a video, anytime you seen a poster, anything about it was just the Enterprise. And each time you would see it, it was more and more built. And it's like, okay, where are we going with this? What's the story going to be about? And so when I went into it not knowing what it was about, and then found out it was young Kirk and how he got into Starfleet Academy and became a captain, I'm like, this is awesome because it's fresh, it's new. We've already seen the end, of Kirk's voyage and his journey, and he popped in Generations, and throughout the story. And we've seen where all of that led to, but we've never seen the past. And so it was a really cool concept to make something new that eventually will end where the series begins all that time ago.
And I thought it was such a cool twist how Abrams essentially explained the reboot. Right? Like, it wasn't just well, let's just do this over again. It actually was a part of the story prior. It just, somebody time traveled and spun everything off into a different, a parallel universe, and this is what we're watching now. And I thought that was such an interesting take on how to reboot a movie. So like that in and of itself, I gave kudos to, because I was like, it is a reboot, but that's a creative reboot, man. That's something
Yep.
worth watching for sure.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to see where it goes. And it was cool, him, the whole battle between him and Khan, before the Wrath
Oh
of
yeah,
Khan, and
yeah,
it kind of gives you the sub story of how they knew each other.
yeah.
So, and Jack, I don't know what this was for. This was like way back, and it like I don't know, I don't. I don't know. We were talking about Game of Thrones. We've talked about so many different things and tangent and
Oh yeah.
derailed, and so for the Alliance, so that lied somewhere in there. So that's kind of where we were going with this whole thing. Is you'll be doing 3 issues of Memoirs of an Angel, and you'll be doing 1 issue of the Nebulizer a year,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. That'll be this year.
Cool.
So
And
yeah, the
you have
Nebulizer starts. It comes out in later in the spring. Will be its Kickstarter, and then the rest of the year will be Memoirs in the summer, and then the fall.
cool.
So, yep.
Cool. And I'm excited for it. I think it sounds awesome. Like I said, it
Thanks, man.
reminds me of Inhumanoids, because I love that show. And it's like now I don't know what happened to that. And I did happen to find a DVD at like Walmart a while back. It only
Oh
had
wow.
the first 4 episodes on it. It doesn't
Yeah.
have the final 3. And I'm like, I gotta find these final 3. And I found them. There's a guy that sells them on Etsy. He's like he burns them to a DVD.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know how, I don't know about all that. I'm like, is this even
Get
legal?
some shady dealings
Yeah,
for the old TV show here.
get some bootleg DVDs. I'm gonna get it, and it's gonna be like, here's the TV, and it's gonna be
Yeah,
like
man,
this
that's
much
all.
if it's
Yeah,
the
you're not gonna be
video.
able to see
It's
any
gonna be
of
like
it. It's like
watching it
half
on
the screen is like all the actors are like over here, and you're like, oh, what are we doing with
it's
this?
like watching a Blu-ray on an Apple Watch. You got all this screen, and it's just this little V square. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? So I want to kind of go back to some of your inspirations and stuff. So we talked about your favorite characters and stuff like
hmm
that. Who are the people you look up to? Like I know we kind of talked a little bit about some of the artists and stuff like that, but who
Yeah,
are some of the writers and some of the people that you look up to and that you would really want to meet?
I think the biggest influences on me as a creator, like I said, is Mike Mignola, Neil Gaiman, Bruce Timm, but really Don Bluth. His animation studio in the 80s and 90s was, I mean, it rivaled Disney for a while. I mean, it was what I think it's the direction that animation should have gone instead of Disney Pixar type stuff. Um, oh,
Good, because I had no idea what that was for. I was completely confused, but thank you for clarifying. It was for shits and giggles. I appreciate that. Because I'd have been
oh,
thinking about it the whole show.
like what did he mean?
What did he mean? Did I
Oh
miss
man.
something? Did I
So yeah,
like?
like yeah, like Secret of Nim, and All Dogs Go to Heaven. That was like those were my go-to cartoons as a kid, and then really, I mean, I used when I was really learning. For a time, I I, I teased the idea of going into animation, and then I discovered how tedious that was, and was like, nay, nay, that's not for me. And so instead, I was like, well, I could just take that style and adapt it to comics. And so, really, I did a lot of case studies with The Secret of Nim. Just kind of watched, you know, cell shading, like what is lighting, things like that. A lot of it I have learned from, which is interesting because I don't work traditionally. I work digitally, but I learned from traditional, means, just really like looking at it, and studying it, just observing what, you know, the shading, the lighting, the colors, the just the line work in general as well. So Don Bluth's animation, which Bruce Timm was a part of before going and doing Tiny Toon Adventures and um, and Batman the Animated Series, and I would just say animation in general was just a huge, huge influence on me. And I think Bruce Timm as an as an animator was a huge influence, and Paul Dini as a animation writer was a huge influence, and he did a lot of the more meaningful episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Um, and I mean, just a handful of other guys. Frank Miller was huge. He got me into comics. And what does he say? I kind of wonder if movies like All Dogs Go to Heaven could be remade today with the standard people have now. You know, it's interesting. I think we're gonna actually find that out because Don Bluth is starting a new animation studio, and he's gonna start pumping out some 2D animation stories, and I think Titan AE was the last thing he did before he went into retirement, and it was not received well in the box office, which I loved the movie. I thought it was great, but it just people didn't go see it. People didn't want it. So I'm interested to see what direction he'll go. So that's actually a really good point. I don't know. Don Bluth now may not be received well. I loved it. It helped shape me. And I really think if we can spark if we can spark that, with 2D animation, I think there's the Netflix show Klaus that came out a couple years ago was all 2D animation, and it was fantastic. So I think people really, yeah, it was a great movie. I love Titan AE, the story, the acting, the just the blend of 2D and with a little bit of CG in there as well I thought was pretty cool, especially for its time. But yeah, I would say Frank Miller was huge. Getting me into comics, really showing me Sin City really showed me what comics could be. When I was a teenager and I picked up my first Sin City book. This was before the movies came out, and I remember thinking, I was like, what? Like, what is this? This is awesome. Like, every page was like a piece of art. And the story was gritty and it just wasn't, wasn't what you normally pick up on the comic stands. And a lot of Frank Miller stuff in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s were like that. He was really just pushing the envelope all the time. Now, not so much. I'm not a huge fan of him anymore. I think he pushes things now just for the sake of pushing the limit, and I think it's kind of redundant in a lot of ways, unfortunately. But you cannot at all take away what he did, 10, 20 years ago. Was good grief, phenomenal. Well, now I guess it's 20, 30 years ago. Gosh.
Yeah, makes you
Yeah,
feel old thinking about it, doesn't
a
it?
little bit, yeah. But no, I think that that group of creators, and really, I got to get Fiona Staples. Is a huge inspiration. She's the artist that did Saga. And I mean, I studied just the pages and the colors and the line art that she did. And I've watched a couple of videos that she's done, just drawing and coloring and things like that on digital format, because that was really helpful. Her and Todd McFarlane did kind of instructional videos here and there, that I would really dive into and study. But yeah, that group of people, those are my inspirations. Those are the creators that man, I look up to and have a lot to do with where I'm at today creatively.
And out of all those people, or even not even out of all those people, who's the one creator that you would want to meet if you had the chance?
Mike Mignola,
Like,
hands down. Yeah, absolutely. I think because Memoirs, like what he did with Hellboy and BPRD, is what I'm doing with Memoirs. It just he took folklore from all over the world and just through. Oh yes. Oh gosh, Lion Cat. Oh, such a good. I mean, what was it? There was a panel. One panel made me cry in Saga, and it was when I forgot the character's name. I'm about to reread the. I got the big fat omnibus, and I'm gonna reread the series. But it's one where one of the characters, she was a child prostitute, and she pretty much is talking about you know how dirty she is and whatnot. And Lion Cat, if you're familiar with the series, he always says lying when someone's lying, and or when something isn't true rather. And so she's sitting there and she's just like just saying how awful she is because of everything that she's been through and everything she's done. And the cat's there and he just says lying. And I was like, oh gosh, like he just pretty much just like, no, none of that you just said about yourself is true. um and just brilliant writing, brilliant storytelling with the art as well between Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I don't know, Russ, have you read Saga?
I haven't. I have
Dude,
read a few of it, but
so good, so good. But anyway, yeah, I think with what Mike Mignola did, taking the folklore all around the world of just different cultures, different stories that he found, and just old books of just reading these old folk tales, and he put Hellboy in the middle of it, and it was just Hellboy experiencing all of these monsters and all these creatures and all these legends, and tied it into this bigger story. And that's what I'm doing with Memoirs and in the Bible, is all of this mythos that the Bible has created, and really utilizing that as world building, but telling an original story, telling a horror fantasy story, based off of these what the Bible, biblical themes, sure, and steeped in the theology for the world building and things like that. But also, I mean, you dig into, I've started to dig into, or I have not started to for many years, like the really the folklore of like the New Testament writers specifically. I mean, things that pop up in the New Testament where if you didn't know the folklore that they're referencing, you're like, what the heck is that? Talking a lot about like the Nephilim, and and there's a verse in later in the New Testament that talks about the angels, the watchers that are in the depths of Tartarus, and that's literally the only time any of those words are used. And you're just like, what the heck does that mean? Well, if you study that culture, there was an entire like belief system and folklore of the watchers who came down and had sexual relations with women and created this offspring of human angel hybrids that like were evil and disgusting and crazy and really messed up the DNA of what God created humans to be. And so it's referenced in the New Testament, clear as day. So I've really been diving into that because it's just fascinating to me, that
yeah,
it was, that the New Testament writers were so steeped in that. So I'm taking the same ideas, the same type of process that Mignola did with Hellboy. I'm doing with Memoirs, just with with a lot of Jewish, Hebrew legends, and also with biblical texts and themes and theology as well.
yeah, and that's something that we touched based on. One of the prior videos that we were on together is how gruesome some of the events in the Bible are that happened,
Oh yeah.
and so you kind of focus on that, and people may go into the book being like, oh, Memoirs of an Angel, it's gonna be, it's this goody two shoes book, and it's not. It really shows some of the deep
No.
dark things that happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, like obviously posted. Oh, cool. Nice. Um, but um, but no, yeah, oh, what was I saying? I got distracted. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you were talking about the gritty. No, you're fine. You were talking about the gritty, the dark,
Oh
the
yeah,
horrible things that
yeah.
happened in the Bible that you reference to in the book. Because, I mean, if you guys are thinking Memoirs of an Angel, and you hear the story about how, he went to Christian school and he learned all that, that's not how the book is. The book
No.
really shows the deep, dark, and the folklore that he's talking about. There's some pretty crazy things: dead bodies hanging and
Yeah.
decomposing, and
Yeah, I mean, issue one, we walk in, issue one, we're introduced to the main human character who doesn't play a huge role in book one, but it's all set up for the rest of the three books, and he's a main player in those. But we introduce Jonathan, who is the broken and bitter witch hunter that's in the pitch, and he's on this mission to kill this witch that he's been hunting for 6 years in this wasteland called the Gray. And He finds her village, stalks it out for a couple days, causes a little bit of trouble, and then when she arrives, he fights her and loses, and that's the end of issue 1. And then we go back in time 25 years and pick up the rest of the story, which I've already explained. But in that issue, I mean, him just walking through the village, there's bodies decomposing on stakes. He stabs, multiple people in a bar, and there's a huge gnarly fight. Throws an axe through a guy's head, throws a cross through another guy's head. And the reason that I do that, really, it's not just gore for gore's sake. It's because that reflects specifically the Old Testament in many ways. I mean, this is what I said, I think on Pop's show and on a couple others, I've said this too. If you made a movie of the Old Testament, it would be NC-17 for the violence alone, let alone the sex, the language, everything else. I mean, we like to take the Bible and make it squeaky clean and family friendly. That is not what this was. The Bible is stories. The Bible is stories that are of people who were real, who were not good, but that God used anyway, and that God, worked through, even though they were gross, disgusting, awful human beings. And so, like, a lot of people that we lift up as like biblical heroes of the faith, they're garbage human beings that did terrible things. They enslaved people. They had, pretty much sex slaves for wives, and that, one King David actually sent a guy to the front lines just so he could screw his wife, and then had him killed so that then he could then marry her. I mean, this is Game of Thrones type stuff that's happening. And this isn't squeaky clean, family friendly stuff at all. So I really want to take that tone and replicate that in the series and get away from that misconception that everything Christian has to be, nice and Hallmark. No, screw that. Read the Bible. That is not there at all. So that's really, that's why I wanted to, and with the demons, I wanted to show, what's he saying?
So the Bible's just like children's tales back in the OG stuff. It's not really for kids. It's to scare the living crap out of them.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
They've learned a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it really, it's and I mean, with what's happened in a lot of, Sunday school children's Sunday school classes and things like that, we have watered down this very real, this very powerful, what I believe is very real, text that talks about a brutal history of a people and a heroic story, not from humans, but from an outside source that rescues humans from the evil that is, oppressing us outside of ourselves, but also within ourselves as well. So it's very much Memoirs. I want to focus on people are not the good guys in this story. And the demonic characters are nasty. They're gross. And they're wicked. And I really wanted to just focus on how awful they are. So that way, when you see how awful and disgusting and terrifying these beings are, and then an angel shows up and they're scared of it, that just shows how powerful this angel is and how awesome this angel is. And my angels are not people with wings. They're not little chubby babies with harps. They are, I love monsters. I love monster movies. They're great. And I really wanted to make, and every time somebody in the Bible, sees an angel, they're terrified every single time, especially when they describe some of the angels that are just like wings with eyes and flames. And it's just like, what the heck is happening to me? And I really wanted to take that and put that in the series as well. So there are humanoid angels, but then there are angels that just look crazy, especially in the issue that's on Kickstarter right now. So I'm really excited to just, and this issue, man, I'm loving. I'm less than 10 pages away from finishing the book. It'll be done by the time the Kickstarter's over. But this issue is what I've told people is the payoff issue. There's a lot of tension that's been built. There's some action, plenty of action in the first, 6 issues for sure. But this issue is just in your face craziness in the physical realm and in the spiritual realm. And it is a ton of fun to draw. And I cannot wait for people to read this one.
I don't know what's more fun, the book or the thought of the Zoom meetings while this is going on. I mean,
trust me, you don't want to be in those Zoom meetings. They're scary. They're just there's a lot of cussing and beer and you know.
So I mean, are we gonna get like some kind of a stretch goal where we get to like have a video of one of the Zoom meetings or something? I mean, I think that would be awesome. Like you totally have to do it. You got to put together a skit where like
there might be
like,
that might be something that we could do in the future, just to have like the different maybe like a just a little art card of the different hats that I wear, like writer Brian and artist Brian, who's just frazzled and angry and cussing at the writer.
Yeah, so I
think that's good.
Well, here's what you do. You do like those one videos. So you make a script up of what each person's going to say, and then you record that script, and you dress as the writer, you dress as the artist, you dress as the
don't give Jeremy Woodring any more ideas for his crazy shenanigans. This man's already got like 12 ideas for videos and shows. So don't put that on me.
Come on, it'd be a lot of fun.
It would be fun. I'm sure it would be a ton of fun to watch. What is it? It's crazy how much.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's crazy how much everybody always says the devil made me do it or demons made me do it when it's just super evil and insane. I mean, in all seriousness, I think, and even the Bible talks about this. I mean, I think you can go two extremes, with, if you're in the Christian worldview, I think you can go with two extremes is shunning like demonic stuff and any kind of really, crazy supernatural stuff that has to do with evil, or seeing a devil and demon behind every corner and door and all that stuff. I mean, I think both of those extremes are dangerous and unhealthy. But yeah, just to address, what was just said, I think a lot of people, especially right now, I mean, in my own, I'm a Christian. We've had some pretty bad things come out in the church, over the last couple decades with sex scandals and just awful stuff. And you know what? That's because of the crap that's inside these guys that are my mama said it's his Abdullah Ablumgata.
My mama said that alligators is angry because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. Well, guess what, Bobby? Mama's wrong again.
You're wrong, Colonel Sanders.
You're wrong, Colonel Sanders. So that's a great way to end the show. I know you got stuff that you got to get to. You got work to do. You got family and stuff like that. I really appreciate you coming on tonight and talking about, your inspirations and talking about the book and, some of the things that we have to come out of you. So I look forward to the Nebulizer. It sounds great.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And so there's the Kickstarter link, everybody. I did put that back in the comments again. Please go give it a like, give it a share it out. I mean, if you guys can't afford to back it, definitely share it out so other people can see it. And if you can, throw $1 on it. If you throw $1 on, everybody that follows you on Kickstarter will see that you backed this awesome project by Brian Rodman, and they're going to go check it out for themselves. So,
and in all seriousness, one of our goals is to hit over 100 backers this time. We're well on our way to do that. And if you just give $1, you get counted as a backer, and you'll get a thank you in the book for just $1, and that will also help us with our backer numbers. So, absolutely. Thank you for having me, man. This was great. I loved interacting with the chat and just you had some really good questions, dude. This was good. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. So I will give you the big screen. I'll give you a chance
Sure.
for anybody that's joined in late or anybody that'll pop in here in the next few minutes. Give us a little bit about you, where people can find you, and last of all, give us that elevator pitch.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I am Brian Rodman, the writer-illustrator of Memoirs of an Angel. and it is a horror fantasy series about a ragtag group of infinite and finite beings who race through time and space to rescue a broken and bitter witch hunter from the clutches of the Dark Kingdom. And it is like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. You can find me at brianrodman.com, and that's actually the best way. From there, you can get on all my social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as a Patreon page. And from there, you can also go directly to the Kickstarter that is running right now for issue 7 of the series. And it's insane. This is a great time to jump on board because this is a huge payoff issue with a lot of action, a lot of really good storytelling in this one. Um, and yeah, I'm also a co-host of the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. We are a show about all things nerdy, and we actually had Russell on this past Thursday for our drawing show. And we are on every week on the Dastardly Dingoes Network on YouTube. I'm also a co-host of the Comic Book Spectrum with Brian K. Morris, Clyde Hall, and Eric Hawkins on the Rising Tide Network every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I guess it helps if I unmute my mic.
Nah, I just do some sign language. You'll be all right.
I don't know. Sounded good. So, guys, I'm going to pop that Facebook link for Memoirs of an Angel here in the comments. That's what I was trying to pull up while he was giving his spiel there. So there is where you can find that on Facebook. If it didn't lock up on me, there we go. It popped in. So there we go. We got Memoirs of an Angel comic. You can go there. You can follow all things Memoirs of an Angel and go check out all the other pages. And definitely check out the Dastardly Dingoes. That link is in my timeline on Rustic Explode Studios. I shared that out
Thank you, sir.
when I was on there
Appreciate
last week. So, guys, definitely go check it out. Definitely join in and see what they have to offer. So, thanks a lot for being on tonight. Thanks for sharing your story with us. And I'll let you go. I know you got things to do.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. This was a good time. Well, I'm excited to come back.
I'll definitely be here, and I'll have you on.
Cool.
So if you want to hang out in the back room for a few minutes, if you're busy.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, I'm going to hang out. Yeah,
all right,
we'll hang out for a few minutes.
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right, man. Thanks.
So, guys, thanks a lot for being here tonight. Definitely check out popping them links in. That's right. So, guys, thanks a lot for being here tonight. Thanks for checking out the show, and thanks for listening to Brian's story. Definitely sounds like an awesome thing. I'm definitely excited to get the series and read it and check it out because it just sounds freaking awesome. So, I'm excited about the Nebulizer. So, definitely look for that in the near future. When that comes out, you can bet he's going to be on here again. We're going to be showing off art for it and talking all cool things about it. I want to end out tonight talking about Nebula Pearl with Codex Entertainment LLC. This is your final chance to get in on this project. Not only is it your final chance to get in on the project, it's also going to be your guys' final chance to get in on the cross promotion with Xeno Nanite Titan. And I'm scrolling trying to find it. I got so much stuff in here. So this is your last chance to get on with Nebula Pearl. It is ending sometime tomorrow, I believe. So I think we're entering into the last 24 hours. So please go check it out. Please give it a like, a share, back it for $1. Anything that you can do to help out that project. Wendy Steinshaner, Alfred Trujillo, Doobie Doo, Karen Nicole, you got Michael Shoemaker and CB Zane all collaborated on this and writing an awesome project for you. It's going to be regular manga style, reads from right to left, looks really cool, sounds like a lot of fun, and it also had cross promotions with these other great projects. So talking about that, Xeno Nanite Titan is still live on Kickstarter right now. Please check it out as well. And I have cross promotions, like I said before, with Nebula Pearl. I also had a cross promotion with Into the Suck somewhere on here. Right about, maybe I didn't put it on here. That's it, I'm fired. Oh, here we go. Which you can get this double-sided metal art card. So if you backed Into the Suck 6, you can get this double-sided metal art card with the art of Steph Wilson here with the Tarn homage to heavy metal, as well as this piece with Ruben Rosas's art on the backside. And if you want to know what it looks like in real life, I'll show you real quick because I got the mock-up right here. So there's the metal art card right there, super sweet. And last but not least, Grant Lackard, who has Beowulf issue number 1 on Kickstarter right now has this super sweet cross promotion with Zeno and Anti-Titan. Become a Klingon and get your window clean of our dragons circling each other with our logos. Show it off proudly on your car window, on your house window, or any window that you have. Put it on somebody else's window. Make them go, what the heck is this? And look it up. It doesn't matter. Check it out, guys. Back all these great projects, share them out. As always, everyone, this is Russ Explode Studios with projects that'll blow your mind. I'm out. Have a great night.